Welcome back, everyone, to Real Reds Talk on a Thursday afternoon news show. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So massive calls for Erik Ten Hag to make heading in to the Southampton game on Saturday. Will Rasmus start? Will Shaw start? Will Ugarte start? Will Ligt start after the mistake he made during the international break? We're going to dive into all of those things individually. We're also going to talk about how the team's kind of shaping up ahead of that game, because obviously we've had the international breaks now. Thank God it's over. If we could just pause for a minute just to you know, I'll say sacrifice then. I don't mean sacrifice. Just, thank God. Thank God the international break's over. Just, breathe. I cannot stand him. Genuinely, just as like a side discussion, I just I'd rather them not be there in general. Like Nations League friendlies, get rid of him, scrap him. Couldn't give a toss about him. Absolutely nothing. The only reason why I watch him actually is just because it's football. Do you know what I mean? I probably watch the Masters if that was on. I absolutely hate international football, for anyone who doesn't know that already. So the fact that Premier League football is going to be back this weekend, and then after that we've kind of got quite a thick run of fixtures, not just for United, but football in general. You're talking Champions League's returns. I think, is it next week, I think? You've got the Europa League coming up. You've got Carabao Cup fixtures, and then you've got the Premier League as well. So, yeah, just happy to focus on that for now and the games and have proper football back is what I like to call it, because in terms of tempo and aggression and competitiveness, it's night and day between Premier League football and international football. So that's great, first and foremost. Didn't intend on spending that long on speaking about international football, but sometimes it just drags it out of you, doesn't it? So yeah, happy about that. We also have a fantastic piece on Manchester United's recruitment over the summer and how things have changed. That's coming out from Rob Dawson with the ESPN, and I definitely want to dive into some things that are on there, because I think some interesting points that have been made and being put out there, whether it's, you know, trying to get a bit of positivity from the fans or what have you, I'm not sure, but I think there are some good things in there that I definitely want to sink my teeth into. So first and foremost, let me know how you guys are, whether you're watching this live or if you're watching this later on, what you've been up to during the day, if you're looking forward to the game, if you watched the preview that Shreyas and Sam did last night. Make sure you check that out after this if you haven't seen it. United versus Southampton, and they dive into all the specifics of the game. I wasn't available, so the two lads jumped on and I did a cracking preview, so please do check that out. But again, that kind of correlates with what we're going to talk about first and foremost with individual players, right? Who's going to be ready? Who's going to be fit and available? You've got certain ones that are, you know, could make the first debut. You've got ones that have had a tough international break, like Matthias de Ligt, and you've got ones coming back from injury. So just on Ugarte, 70 minutes versus Paraguay, 90 minutes against Venezuela, I believe, can clearly play 90 minutes. But is it a question of fitness or is it a question of cohesion with the team? Because realistically, how many training sessions has Ugarte had with Man United? You know, is it 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know. I don't know the actual specific number. Maybe someone does in the chat. But I'm guessing it's not been a lot. It's been a handful, right? So it's more about patterns and chemistry more than fitness, I would say. Because, like I said, he played 90 minutes against Paraguay. So he's obviously fit enough to do that amount of running. And he weren't just walking about the pitch. He was playing in his usual kind of aggressive nature. So, you know, where he eats up ground. I mean, the guy's probably doing like 12 kilometres a game. I would probably suggest maybe even more, because he's just he eats up grass for fun. So he's clearly fit enough. Is it a risk for Ten Hag to start him? I think it would have been more of a risk to throw him in the Liverpool game. Now, people might discuss if he had started the Liverpool game, he might not have lost 3-0. But I think Sam described it, actually, when we did the preview for the Liverpool, that it was a baptism of fire just chucking him in there when he's had one training session with the team. Not necessarily up to fitness. You know, I know he'd played for Uruguay in the Copa America, but for PSG, he'd just been training with them. So match fitness is difficult. It's different, to actual, you know, training fitness. So that's the big risk with that. Do you start him? I'll ask you guys. Do you put him in straight from the start, or do you bring him in by method like Ten Hag did with Xerxes and de Ligt, where you give him 10 minutes, and then it's going to be 20 minutes the next game, and then it's going to be 45 minutes the next game? Can we even afford to do that? Because if he doesn't start him, you know who's going to play there instead of him, and it's going to be Casemiro. Now, some people at the start of the season were saying Casemiro's having a regeneration, he's lost a bit of weight, he's moving about the pitch a lot quicker, and whilst that may be true, because I agree with it to a certain point, he's obviously still got mistakes in him. He's obviously still extremely wild in games. And when you're going away to Southampton, when you need 3 points because you've already lost the first 2 out of 3 opening games. Recklessness, players who are making a lot of mistakes is the last thing you need in it. In an away game, which could end up being tough. Don't forget, this game against Southampton, it's the early kickoff and it's the first game back from the international break. So sometimes, like they say with, like derbies, or if it's against Liverpool, or it doesn't matter, sometimes they say their form doesn't matter because of the circumstance. And I think it could be a very sluggish start from United. And I think Southampton, I mean, I don't know how many internationals they have, who's going away or what have you. I've not looked into that. Maybe I should. But they're going to be up for it. It's a home game. They've had no points yet so far. And every team, they had that extra little percentage, don't they, against United. So that's going to be a difficult game. So Ugarte, it's one of those where, if you go with Casemiro, if you think it's risky and you go with Casemiro, it's going to be even riskier when you don't have a job. So you don't have to worry about that. So, you know what I mean? There's 2 sides of the fence there. It's almost a double-edged sword, really. But, yeah, that's why the managers get paid a lot of money, innit, to make these kind of decisions, I suppose. On Hojlund is another one where you don't really want to rush him back, because I think if people remember the injury that he picked up during pre-season, I would probably suggest, do you rush him? Do you just give him 20 minutes, start Xerxes again? Xerxes had a great cameo for the Netherlands, scored a goal, got an assist. Actually put in a really good performance. So, I don't think he'll start Hojlund. I mean, I'd be extremely surprised, but the last thing you want is him being injured again and rushing him back when you don't necessarily need to. Last season, we didn't really have a choice, did we? Because we literally had no one to bring, because Martial was injured all the time. So we had no rotation. It was either Rasmus, or if Rasmus is out, towards the back end of the season, we saw that kind of false 9 system deployed and Bruno would play there, but then it was Rashford as a striker as well, which nobody wants to see ever again. So, yeah, I'm sure you won't want to rush him back. I'm sure it'll probably be methodical with that. Luke Shaw, I mean, we talk about injury prone. I'm actually a little bit worried about Hojlund in that regard, but obviously Luke Shaw is much further on in his career and injury development to kind of compare them both. But, yeah, Luke Shaw, I will go as far to say now, I think he'll be back for 2 games, and I think he'll pick up another knock. And he'll be out for another couple of weeks. And I think that is the repetitive cycle that you're going to see throughout the season for the next 12 months. He's back, good couple of games, injured again. He's back, muscle injury, injured again. I think it's destined. It's destined, so you can never, ever get your hopes up about Luke Shaw. Simple as that, you can't. If he doesn't, one question I want to ask, and again, I'll go to the comments shortly. If he manages to stay fit by some miracle, who goes at right back? Does the low slot right back in there? Do you go with a trusted who's player of the year? Or do you go with the new signing Mazraoui who's really impressed? Or does it matter? Does he just chop and change him? Something to think about, I suppose. And then just the last one before I do dive into your comments. Matthijs de Ligt. Big mistake against Germany. Dutch media are absolutely all over him, slaughtering the guy. I mean, they just don't like centre-backs in general, I believe, from what I've heard and from what I've read. So what do? Do you drop him for Maguire if he's a little bit low on confidence? Does that just go against your stance as you just brought him for 40 million? Why are you playing Maguire? Again, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because if he makes a mistake in that Southampton game, the English media are going to kill him. Absolutely kill him. Because obviously they prefer Maguire to be in that spot. They push that kind of narrative. So you bet your bottom dollar, if that's even a saying, if de Ligt makes a mistake against Southampton, oh God, it's just going to be a long road. It's like Onana, wasn't it? Remember Onana early days, coming in, massive signing, taking over from what quite a few people regard as a club legend in David De Gea. And the first 6 months was an utter shit show, wasn't it? So we do not want that, especially from our centre-backs, because, like I said, we're already behind on points. We've lost 2 games out of 3. Excuse me, out of 3. 1-1, barely, by the skin of our teeth, and lost 2. So you can't be affording any more mistakes, any more recklessness, wildness from any of these players. Please, I'm praying, if everyone could just cross their fingers right now, touch wood, do your thing, then, yeah, So, yeah, I want to discuss the other players heading into it as well, because obviously it's not just these 4 players. These are the ones who are kind of returning. Also wasn't registered. How do Nick? Wow, I don't know what's going on here. Don't know what's going on. Very, very slow day, afternoon. Usually we've got 30-odd of yous, 40-odd of yous. everyone must be on holiday, or they must be. I have no idea. It's nice to whoever's joining in though. It's it's fine. From what I've seen of Mazda, I reckon he'll start over Dalot, but obviously his form dips. There's no reason Dalot can't come back in. It's a squad game. So many matches we need to rotate. Look, let's talk about fitness ahead of Southampton and go on to the other players. You've got Cobby and Maguire, who didn't feature for England, which is fantastic because they need a bit of a rest. I think mainly he looked tired the first couple of games. Joshua Zirkzee didn't play any minutes against Germany. De Ligt played 45. So, again, not overworked. When you talk about Bruno Fernandes and Diego Dalot, they quite literally have monster energy drink running through their veins on an IV drip. So I'm never ever worried about them two. Hopefully they'll bring back some of that sauce and form that they've had with Portugal, because I think both players look really good. I think Dalot, some of the crosses he was putting in was, I mean, I know we see it sometimes for United. We saw it for, was it Ahmad in the Brighton game? I want to see more of that. But it's difficult in it when you're playing at left back, of course. And maybe even I'd extend that as much to say I want to see more of that from Mazraoui as well. So hopefully they bring the form back. I think Ligt and Garnacho should be fine. I think Lissandro played 45, but then you got like the long flight with an early kickoff. So keep an eye on those two. As for the rest of the squad, I think 27 minutes with Ivory Coast. Mazraoui's done okay. I think we should be all right. It should be okay. It's just everyone's already It's not a myth. It's like a superstition. Never back the early kickoff, because the early kickoff games are always a little bit bizarre. Who was it the past couple of weeks? You had, was it Liverpool and Ipswich was one of them, and then Ipswich for the first 45 minutes were all over Liverpool. Took them a little bit to get the bearings, didn't it? And then they finally got back into the team. And then, there's been a couple of others where it's been a little bit, they started a little bit slow early. Because what happens is when you listen to players talk about it, they're like, oh, I'm having to eat pasta at like 9 in the morning. Do you know what I mean? To get like those kind of carbs and energy fuel. And it's just a different kind of process to like a 5 o'clock kickoff or an 8 o'clock kickoff. So, yeah, a little bit worried. I think it'll be a slow start, just to give my opinion on it, because obviously I wasn't on the preview last night. But I think we'll get the job done. I just think it'll be scrappy. Really think it's going to be scrappy. But you've got new players adapting, players still finding fitness, cohesion not really there, a risk at play with bringing new players in. It's like operating on a live bomb, basically. You've got to be really careful. It could be done, but you have to be really methodical in your approach and do it the right way. So, yeah, I saw last night on socials, so United unveiled a new recovery equipment and machines designed to boost player recovery by an average of 25% faster than usual conditions. So when we always joke about on this channel that we should just put Luke Shaw in a cryo chamber or Bruno Fernandes over the summer in a cryo chamber, they're not doing it over the summer because they probably wouldn't, well, they definitely wouldn't survive it. But having something in place like this, again, it's like, this is just simple decisions that you make. This is like, why did we not have one of these ages ago? It's sports science. We're way behind on it. Just for medical recovery, if you can get that extra 25% that it's alluding to there, fantastic. You get a player back before, a couple of games before than you should. The better players you have in a team, more chance you have of winning points, right? More chance you have of progressing up the table, the more chance you have of progressing in a cup tournament. So, yeah, fantastic news. And hopefully they keep making improvements like this, because Dave Brailsford talks about small margins, and they're certainly making them at the moment off the pitch. I want to see it on the pitch. I want to see some progression on the pitch. And if we don't get that against Southampton, I think Erik Ten Hag's job could come under scrutiny. Well, it's already under scrutiny, let's be honest. So, let's talk about the guys above Erik Ten Hag, the guys who are pulling the strings at the moment. There's been some, I don't know if you call it recruitment PR, or there's been some positivity put out. And Rob Dawson has done a really good article on this. So sources close to Man United's recruitment operation believe that the discipline shown regarding Jared Branthwaite eventually helped get a deal over the line for Manuel Ugarte. With PSG holding out for a fixed fee of 50.7 million, United made a point of referencing their interest in Branthwaite and threatened to walk away as they had done with Everton, which I think this is interesting. So, obviously, it's about developing a reputation, because United's reputation has been in the bin. You've spoken to agents or journalists around Europe, whenever they talk about United, they're almost laughing at how bad we are at business when Murta and Arnold were plunged, or even when Ed Woodward was in charge. They laughed at us. We was laughing stock in Europe. Now it's about changing that perception, showing that we're a proper club, we're a professional, like it should be with a club the size of Manchester United. Don't get it twisted. And look at the 5 players that we brought in. I think each fee was pretty good given the circumstances. People will poke the Lenny Yoro honey tree, if you will, and say that we overpaid for him. But it's all about circumstance. Lenny Yoro had Real Madrid interested in him. Strong interest, but they didn't want to pay the certain fee. So I actually thought it was a smart move by United going, do you know what? We think this kid is a generational talent. We like what we've seen from him. There's an opportunity potentially if we go and give Lille decent money for him that they might push him towards United, and that's exactly what happened. Now, obviously, hasn't gone to plan because he's came here and got injured, but he is a super talented centre-back. And even paying 50 million, that's going to pay itself back a million times over. By the time his contract will run out when he's, 23, 24, which sounds absolutely crazy to say, doesn't it? Mental. So you're going to make your money back even if he goes to Madrid in 5 years' time. You're going to get 100 million. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he stays for a while. I hope he becomes a legend at the club. A long away from that, of course, but why not? Because I think he genuinely is, under 20, probably the best centre-back in the world. I'd go as far to say. I mean, yeah, if anyone has any different shouts, then let me know. But I'd be pretty confident in saying that. But yeah, just a case of the more we do this, the more we repeat these kind of behaviours where it's like, you know what? No, we're not paying 75 million for Branthwaite. Just because we paid 80 million for Maguire 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, whatever it was, that was a different time. That was different owners. That was, we ain't them guys. We're not going to pay that. And they showed that. And they stepped away from it. And of course, went and got Matthijs de Ligt, who you would argue, he's a couple of years older than Branthwaite, but he's certainly got a bigger reputation than Branthwaite. And we got him for almost half the price to what Everton was asking for. So by making that stance and putting it out there, you sending a message to all clubs around Europe and putting them on notice that we ain't that club. And you need to keep doing these kind of things to develop that reputation. And then in the long term, you're going to have sustainability. It's going to be better for business. And you're going to get players at a better price. And it's just, again, logic. The theme with everything here is logic. Now, the point at which Man United knew they were making progress in the summer transfer window came in mid-July, with Matt Hargreaves, Director of Football Negotiations, locked in complicated talks with Marseille over a deal for Mason Greenwood. United were also pushing ahead with an agreement to bring in Lenny Yoro. In previous years, according to club sources, United would have focused on reaching one agreement before beginning work on another. But with Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox in place, an expanded capacity to complete deals began to pay off, and United ended up announcing both deals on the same day. Now, it seems, again, logic just seems like a normal thing to do in it. People from outside looking in will go, what do you mean you're doing multiple deals at the same time? That's just not what every football club does. No, it isn't. No, it's not. We haven't always done that. And you guys will know, fans watching, for the past 10 years, 11 years, whatever it's been, post-Fergie, we don't do that. For whatever reason, since David Gill left, we never seem to focus just on... we always seem to focus on one deal. It was bizarre. You look at the Frenkie de Jong one being the prime example. We spent, the best part of 8 weeks, I think, because I'm pretty sure we agreed, not personal terms, but we agreed a fee with Barcelona. I want to say early July, or maybe even the end of June, and then it was ongoing till mid-August. And then when the season was kicking off, United fans were like, right, we need a midfielder. What are you doing? Get your hands out, scratching your ass. Get moving. We need a player. And then obviously Casemiro became an opportunity on the market that he was talking about. Madrid were happy to move on. 30 years old, and they were going down a new kind of recruitment policy, bringing in Tchouameni, Camavinga, these kind of guys. And he was like, United will pay big money and they'll pay him big wages. And we reacted and we went and bought him. So that is the last thing you want in a recruitment strategy. You can't even call it a recruitment strategy because there's no strategic thinking in it. It's just stupid reactionary deals that we would always do. So again, logic, go away from that. Stop doing these deals. Long term, again, surprise, surprise, financially, it's going to be better for you. I'm also, I want to say we've done very well with outgoings, which is something we never did. You can go through probably five, what's the word? What's the correct word? I want to get this right. Not nitpicking things with United over a summer where you'd be like, I think the majority of the fan base would probably agree with it, where you talk about the amount of time we would spend on deals, the reactionary deals that we would do, the money that we would offer, the lack of sales, which meant that we couldn't fund other sales to bring players in. I mean, there's a list of things that everyone would go, yeah, been shocking at that for ages. So the outgoings, I said this when I did Paddock late night last night with Jay, and we was talking about, these kind of PSR things that are coming in, and United are pretty confident that they'll be okay in that regards, and there'll be no points deductions, even though the figures didn't look great in terms of how much we've lost. I think it was 116 million. Even though we generate about 650, something along the lines of that. But the outgoings have had a mega influence on that, because I think we sold, is it over £100 million worth of talent over the summer, I want to say, or at least close to that, which I think that's the record out of summers in the past, forever. I think that's our most sales in terms of accumulation. Yeah, I mean, someone quote me on that. Well, I mean, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. So, impressive. I think ineos have had a really, really good summer. Now, United's long-term goal is to revamp the entire recruitment structure by making more appointments around Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox. The hope is that by adding further expertise and knowledge, future windows will become smoother and more successful. Now, it may cost a little bit more at first. Obviously, the first kind of cash injection from Ratcliffe and Ineos has been quite big, and they'll be aware of that. But in the long run, I know they don't say they look at it as a business and an opportunity to make money. They're talking out their arse. It might be a bit of a vanity project or a passion project for Sir Jim, and he might want to leave a legacy. I don't disagree with that. But to go into somewhere like that and you're not thinking about business, it's just stupid. So in the long run, when you have a legit operation, it goes back to that theme that we've been talking about for the whole show: sustainability, longevity. It just makes sense, doesn't it? The micro appointments that they've made, I actually think have gone under the radar a little bit. People see these names, and like you do, like I do, because it's not a player or a transfer, you're like, I don't know who this guy is. But every single position that they're getting specialists in every position. And it's another thing that it's small margins. Again, it's going to make such a difference in the long term and just help the whole operation be well-oiled. And when you've had that in place, don't forget, it's the first year. Ineos have only just come in. But making these decisions is right. And I'm happy with it. Proper people, specialists, doing the right business. Fantastic. Joshua Owens in the chat saying Hardwood, Bellis was with England under 21s. Nathan Wood also. Bednarak was with Poland. Diaz was with Chile. Also, we've had a couple of players out Southampton in terms of the international break. Morning, Nick, St. Nolan and Sean. Manscaped and small margins go hand in hand. Well, depends, Sean. Depends who you are, I suppose. I'm really excited today. The basketball team that I watch every week in Manchester has been brought out of administration. Didn't look like we were going to be able to compete in our league, but we made it. Oh, I'm happy for you, Josh. If you're happy, I'm happy. Amir Fikri says Kobe Mainu and Manuel Ugarte will be played. Mainu will start. There's no doubt about that, but Ugarte, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think he'll start. Just my personal opinion. I have no facts to back that up. But I can't see it personally. Please do smash like the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. Very slow day today. I mean, we've quite literally whizzed through that news. So if there is any debates, any topics that you want to debate, I was going to say, or anything you want to put in the chat, or any questions that you've got, or whatever it is you're doing during the day, actually, let's have a chat for 5 minutes, and we could talk about it. Joshua Owens just made a great point there. He mentioned Mark Armstrong from PSG, who is, correct me if I'm wrong, financial director or something like that, is he? But again, micro appointments, people will see the names and I have no idea who that fucking guy is. And can you blame him? Because you're not going to have a 20 PowerPoint page, 20 pages on a PowerPoint about who this guy is, what he's done. But I trust Ineos. If he's bringing him in for a specific role, that's fine. That's great. And let's not forget, they're not on player salaries, are they? They're not on £300,000 a week. They're probably on good salaries, especially if you're a bit of a financial officer. But it's not going to be cost loads, is it? I don't think. So, yeah. Played a key role in boosting PSG's revenues to meet financial fair play. Yeah, so he's been brought in for one thing, and it's basically the past 10 minutes that we've been talking about. So I'm happy with that, for sure. I'll be even more happy when football kicks off on the weekend, and I can just, yeah, spend all day Saturday, all day Sunday just watching football games that are actually entertaining rather than fucking international football, which just honestly bores the life out of me. So, yeah, United need to get off to a good start. There's no two ways about that. It's been a shocking start to the season. We had all this positivity from Ineos and, how everything's going great and what we're doing off the pitch is great, but it's still the same things on the pitch. So that needs to change instantly. And I tell you what, one thing now, if Ten Hag loses on Saturday, early kickoff, it's going to be a difficult old road back in it. I don't know how. You can't come out after that press conference. You can't say, "Oh well, I won a trophy." That won't wash with United fans, mate. You lost to Southampton away. You hadn't even got a point. They scored 1 or 2 goals, I think. They've actually scored more goals than us. Southampton. I'm pretty sure we checked the league. Let me check the league table. I'm sure we were looking at it last night. Because obviously we've only scored... Oh no, we scored 1 against Brighton, Ahmad, and then 1 against Fulham with Xerxes. So we've scored 2. Southampton... I've scored goals away. I don't know if they've scored it. Wait 1 second. Let me pull up the games. Sorry, it's a very long-winded answer, but I just want to double check. So, start of the season. Lost 1-0 to Southampton, to Newcastle. Lost 1-0 to Forest. And scored 1 against Brentford. But scored 5 in the FL Cup. Jesus Christ. So, yeah, 1 in the league, actually. I thought they had scored more than us. So, no, that's actually... Oh, they scored 3. Huh? No, they're not. Brentford beaten 3-1. Forest beaten 1-0. Newcastle beaten 1-0. If you're including the cup in there, then... No, because they've scored 5 in the cup. So, anyway, look, it's Southampton. They've got no fucking points on the table. They are quite literally 19th. So, only Everton are below them. One of the worst teams in the league. If you can't get a result there with the players that you've got on the pitch... If you've got Onana, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Lissandro, let's say Shaw comes back by some miracle, Casemiro, Menu, Bruno, Ahmad, Garnacho, and Hojlund, let's say. If you cannot beat Southampton with that team, you don't deserve to be in a job. You don't. And the players probably don't deserve to be there. No disrespect to Southampton, but they are. They've been battered off each team, or they've been beat off each team, so you need to go and beat there. We need a good result. How many points do we get from our next 4 games? How many points do we get from our next 4 games? Let's have a look. I'm trying to think. If you talk about strictly league or what are we talking about? I think Southampton United, I think you have to go get a win there. I can't see anything other than that. I think it'll be an absolute disaster if we don't. Barnsley, obviously, breeze through that in the cup. Palace away. I don't know. I still have PTSD from the away game last year, and I'm sure you guys were thinking the exact same when I said that. So that'll be. I think I could see a draw there. 20 at Old Trafford in Europa League. I think we win, and then Tottenham at home. I think that's a draw as well. Another 2-2, like it was last season. Obviously, I know they beat us at Tottenham's ground, but I think at Old Trafford in January this year it was 2-2, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. So. Yeah, I think it's going to be a mixed bag. I really, really do, and I think the pressure is going to be huge on Ten Hag going forward if he doesn't start getting results. So, fingers crossed we do, and we're not sat here doing the review of the game, looking all depressed and frustrated because United have fucked up again. So, yeah, just something coming in here about United. Man United needed to sell players in the summer to generate funds and operate within PSR rules, but Mason Mount had the backing from key figures at the club to stay and become an important member of the squad they envisioned he would become when he signed. So, backing for Mason Mount there. Another thing coming in as well from the same kind of journalist, with 1.34 million people at league matches, Manchester United have recorded the highest attendance of any European club in 23-24 season, according to a UEFA report. There you go. There you have it. Hated, adored. It's our club, innit? That's what we do. Where's Alice? I don't know. You tell me. I'm here. She was on the show the other day, but she doesn't do lives with us every single day. She just appears on as a guest from every now and then. So hopefully that answers your question. I just remembered the moment when they played Newcastle and one of the Newcastle centre-backs got sent off because Ben Brenton Diaz got him angry and they headbutted. Yeah, there was a lot of controversy on that. It was Fabian Schär, wasn't it, who got sent off. Some people were saying it weren't a red card or what have you, but they still won the game. So in essence, it doesn't really matter, does it? No red card for us on Saturday. No, none of this nonsense. Go there, do a professional job. 2-3-0. I want to see a good style play. I want to see Ugarte get some minutes. Potentially Rasmus, potentially Shaw. And let's kick on from there, because you have to use that as a springboard then, as some form of momentum. You've got a good run of games there. I've just spoken about it. You've got Southampton, Barnsley, Palace, 20 and Tottenham. That's a good run of games. You have to start getting wins. Have to. No whiffs, no buts, no coconuts, guys. Right, we are going to be back at 6:30. We're going to be live with Jay Motti from Stretford Paddock. So always a good show. Always goes elsewhere. It probably won't be based on news. It'll probably going off on tangents about, I don't know, politicians and Salford and films. And I don't know what's going to happen. We never know. It's always a bit of its own entity when we do a show with Jay. Check me out on Paddock last night as well if you've got time. We did the late night live talking about Angel Gomez, PSR, and we spoke about Marcus Rashford as well. So yeah, check that out. We also dropped a members video yesterday, I think it was, at 1 p.m. So if any of you members, I don't know if you've seen it, check it out. After dark, me, Sam and Aaron discussing everything but football, so that's slightly different as well. And yeah, we'll have the press conference to discuss also. So busy for this channel as always. Smash a like on the video, subscribe. We're on 6,836, pushing towards 7k, getting there. And check us out on socials as well. All the links, or all the handles, sorry, in the bottom right corner there, just on your tablet. So if you don't follow us on socials, please do check it out. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.